Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of In the Spotlight. It's my pleasure tonight to have on a very special guest. He is currently the coach of the third grade Shelton Gales for AYF. We look forward to talking to him as he begins a new chapter in his coaching career. It is my pleasure to introduce Coach Andrew Troncone. And, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Coach, let me ask you, first off, do you have a kid that's going to be playing on the third grade team?
I do.
Okay, so talk about, did you coach him in flag football at all over the past couple of years? Talk about that a little bit.
I did. And to be honest with you, Shelton runs an amazing flag program. The kids wear full pads, full gear, helmet, and everything. And I think it actually gets them more prepared for the next step into tackle football. It's a great experience. I can't say enough good things about the Shelton Flag League. It's well organized, it's well run, great group of guys over there. It's a good program.
Right, and they've been doing that for a very long time. I would say probably 30 years now at least, because I can remember some 20 years ago that many kids were doing that. And a lot of kids who went on to be very good football players in high school and even at college started out in flag football. And it's like you said, they do full pad. The only thing they don't do is tackle, but I mean, they do the blocking. There is some, there's definitely some physicality there. So, I mean, they do learn the, little basics of football. It's like an introduction, and it kind of prepares them to the next level.
Oh, 100%. I mean, flag is loose term in that league. There's some contact for sure. And my son came to me at the end of the season, and he said, I think I'm ready for tackle. Sure, if that's what you want to do, that's the move you want to make, I support you 100%. And as bad as I feel about the way it kind of worked out, I mean, a lot of the kids just followed us over. They were thrilled with, how, the parents were thrilled with how I coached them, how they progressed throughout the season. And God, I want to say at least eight kids from that team came over and joined and became the third grade tackle team. That's where we kind of started from there. And, we did an in-sports league in Monroe. That's great for the kids too. We met a few kids there that never played before, and it's their first time out, and kind of just did a little recruiting, just say, hey, your son's pretty talented over here. Would he be interested in playing for Shelton third grade tackle? And signed him up like that day.
Right. And let me ask you, Coach, now that there's the world is Zoom and everything else, did you have any Zoom calls or any meetings with where you invited parents from the community just to kind of listen to what you guys were trying to, get started and kind of encourage maybe some of them to have their kids go out for the third grade team? Did any of that stuff go on in the off season at all?
It was funny. It didn't really seem to have to happen. We have great numbers this year. We got 22 kids signed up.
Right.
One of the largest second, third grade teams they said they've had in years. I feel a lot of those flag kids came over, and then even from some of the other flag teams, a few of my son's friends were interested, and I'm going to switch over too. And it was before you knew, we had 20 kids, and I was like, holy cow, this is crazy. I was not expecting it at all. I think there was a tremendous amount of interest. And Shelton's a football town. It's a really great place for these kids, and they start at flag and move up to that next level. It almost seems seamless. I didn't have to really go hunting anyone down. They just all of a sudden the roster kept growing every week. It was 2 more, 3 more, 4 more. I was like, oh, we got a lot of kids here now.
Right, exactly. And I really think it's like we talked about earlier, it's very beneficial because sometimes kids don't realize how hard tackle football could be when they first sign up. It's going to be a whole new different game. But when you have that couple years of flag to kind of give you an idea of, contact and stuff like that, it kind of prepares them. At least they've been in the pads. They know what to expect. They know what it's like to take a hit. So they kind of get that, like I said, that little experience that kind of helps them go to the next level.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you 100, anymore. I've heard other towns, they run flag leagues with no pads, no helmet. I'm like, how are there not concussions every game? And I guess they don't really go as physical. And
right.
To me, yeah, flag can be played at a higher level, but if you're serious about football, tackle's where it is. That's where you want to be. Um, we've got several kids that are. I mean, I got 4 kids over 100 pounds going into 3rd grade,
Right.
and some of their parents are like, "Oh, I don't know if he's ready." I said, "I promise you, he's ready." There were some big boys out there for being 8 years old. And even some of the 2nd graders are pretty large. I mean, I feel like kids these days are getting a little bigger. My son's only 60 pounds, but he's grease lightning. It's just, and he's not afraid to take a hit. He's been doing jujitsu since he was 4 years old. So that's really helped him with the tackling aspect. Double leg takedown is
Right.
just about as close to a tackle as you can get. And a lot of kids followed him into that as well. Some of his buddies that were his age joined in there, and some of them didn't last. Some of them didn't, take as much of a shining to it as he did, but it's a good baseline. They ran a wrestling program in the off season that was really good for a lot of these kids. That's where a few kids signed up from the wrestling program, transitioned right into football, which is really nice.
Right. And what's interesting too, Coach, is you talked about it a little bit, the size you have for some of the players on your team. And it's amazing to me just how young, at a young age, how tall these boys are. I remember last year watching the 3rd grade play, and they had a kid he had to be about 5'4". I mean, he was so tall. And it's amazing to me how just nowadays, like this generation of kids, they are just so much faster, so much bigger, and so much stronger than maybe, kids 15 years ago.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there too as well. I mean, it's just amazing to me. Some of my kids' friends are almost my size. I'm like, wow. we did a little off-season training at Radical Fitness, which was another great program that got a lot of kids interested. And I was holding the bag for some of these kids, and I'm like, wow, you got some power. Like, how could this be? How old are you again? I'm saying to myself, oh, you're in 3rd grade? Beautiful. Sign another one up.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, it went really well. The guys at Radical are awesome. It was a good program for them.
Right. So, Coach, let me ask you this. Who are some of the coaches that are going to be helping you this year? Because, again, it's always it's volunteer, so you put in a lot of hours a week as volunteer coaches, and most of it is usually fathers who help coach. So just talk to me a little bit about the guys that are going to be helping you this year.
I've got a great coaching staff. So my coaching staff consists of myself, Jim Capuano, whose son is Tino. He played actually as a 2nd grader last year. So he's a returning football player from the tackle league.
Yeah.
He's got 2 older brothers that play. So they're a football family. Another coach is Anthony Cacciapoli. His son is also playing on the team. He came from flag. We have a guy named Ty Hollister, whose son is Emmett. He came over from wrestling.
Yeah.
And Ty also played, I believe he played D1 ball in his heyday. So offensive line. So we've got a nice base there to help out with these kids, understanding how to block and pull the block and read what's going on on that defensive side and say, oh, okay, I got a guy coming over the top here. I got to watch. I got to back up. He's been great. Lou Torres is another one of our coaches. He's been with the Siege program in Shelton, the baseball kids. So
yeah,
a couple of those kids have come over. So what do I got? I got me, I got Jim, I got Lewis, I got Anthony, I got Ty, and then I have a man named Jeff Blanco, whose son I coached and flag last year. He's very involved with the basketball program. He's another good guy to have on our team. Like I said, we are stacked with some guys that know what we're talking about and what we're doing here.
Right. And that's the thing I wanted to stress on a little bit, Coach. These are 2nd and 3rd graders after all. And some of them did play flag last year, but some of them, it's going to be their first time putting on the pads. So obviously you've got to hit in practice a little bit because you've got to teach them, what it's like to be out there in a game, or else, they'll get hurt. But as a coach and as a coaching staff, how do you make sure that you don't overdo it with kids that age? Because they are very young. So what is the challenge there of making sure that you don't get kids hurt during the week?
So a big part of what we've talked about as a coaching staff is at the same time we want to teach them how to hit, how to take that hit. we don't want to push that every practice. We want to have a good practice where there's contact. Then we're going to have a day where it's a little bit lighter. Then we're going to have a day where it's a little more hitting the pad. Then we're going to have another day where it's more of a walkthrough before our game and kind of get everything set. And, as the season progresses, get them a little bit more into that physical shape. I mean, the parents have been great. I've been sending out emails for, I feel like, months now, right? And just being like, get out there with your son, throw around the ball, push them around, shove each other around, get used to that physical aspect of the game. And I think they're going to do really well, between hitting the pads in the off season at Radical. They all do multiple sports, which I love that. I can't stress that enough. I really don't want kids living and dying one sport at a time. It's get to know what you like, try everything, see what sticks. You got plenty of time. Like you said, they're so young, but they are very driven. They're very motivated. Push-ups, sit-ups. They don't cry. Okay, coach, let's do them. They want to get in that shape to be able to withstand those hits and deliver those blows.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. Last weekend, I think it was Friday, Saturday. I could be wrong, but you had wasn't there like a mini clinic they had last Friday? Because I know some of the kids that I work with had, were getting ready to go to practice on Friday. So did you do like a little clinic with the kids? Did they have like a little camp they went to?
Yeah, so they did a few weeks back. There was the Shelton Tough Camp at the high school, which a bunch of kids from the team did. We actually had, I want to say 16 out of the 22 signed up for that. So that was great. We had great numbers there. And we have been running like a little bit of throw around, mess around, try and get to know the coaches, get to know each other. Real light stuff, obviously zero contact, more just kind of getting to know each other as a team, getting to understand who the coaches are, just kind of team building stuff. They're, like you said, they're so young at this age. I think it's very important that they learn who their coaches are and that they could trust us going forward, and kind of fooling around with them, throwing the ball around. It kind of builds trust. They love it. They love having fun, so that's what it's all about for us. We love being out there with them. I wish we could do it every day.
Right. And Coach, one of the things that I really like about the third grade program that they do is during the games, I think they have two coaches on the field at all times, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, how important is that? Because these are young kids and they're going to make mistakes. It's not easy to, even when you're in the pros, it's hard to remember plays. Sometimes you get confused, and they are young kids. So, trying to keep them focused and stuff is important. And I really think that's a great job by AYF to have two coaches on the field at all times.
Yeah. So, again, going back to flag, it was very similar setup. You're just out there. You feel like your main job is tying shoes and putting kids in the right position, and one of the goals we had last year as a flag team was by the end of the season, I wanted to be able to tell these kids what their position was and for them to go out there and be able to stand in the right place. And we got there, it just felt like such a huge success. We're like, oh my gosh, you're playing right linebacker and he's in the right spot. It felt really like accomplished. So I think the same thing's going to happen here where, we're going to have these kids, understanding the role of the position they're playing. We're going to put them in there. It's going to be repetitive. It's going to be over and over. And I do think they're going to get it because they want to get it. A lot of these kids, they want to be there. I had parent, we're not going to be able to make it to the throw around. Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. I said, it's summer vacation time, Oh, my son, he's so upset he's not going to be there. I said, listen, we got plenty of time for practice, plenty of time. It's a long season. I do anticipate these kids learning very quickly, though.
Right. And the good thing is, coaches, this year one, I would think, obviously it's their learning year. And what's good is if everything goes right, you're going to continue to coach them. When they get to fourth grade, you'll be their fourth grade coach. When you get to fifth grade coach, and then until they get to high school. So
that's the sad part.
Yeah. Realistically, you're going to be with these kids for about 7 years or 6 or 7 years. So, that's going to be a long time. So the other aspect of it that's really great, if you continue to have these kids all come back each year, is you're really going to build relationships with them that'll last forever.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I got into coaching was, I wanted to be able to create that like family aspect here. It's we all care about each other. One of the things we're more strict on as a coaching staff is picking your teammate up when they fall down. And again, not to like boast or pat myself on the back here, but my son got the sportsmanship award for his flag team last year, and I couldn't have been more proud. Like I didn't care about a touchdown. It was like, man, like that told me that I did my job, raising him up to this point, is that he's a good sportsman. We all pick each other up. That's really what it comes down to. You want these kids to, feel like family, and hey, I'm the coach first, but I'm your friend as well. I love running around out there playing with them, throwing the ball, teaching them things. It's just a passion of mine for sure.
Right.
When it comes to high school, that's gonna be tough to let them go.
Definitely. And and the crazy thing is 6 years will come and go like you wouldn't believe. That's the thing. But Coach, the other thing too. So now for the first year of football for these kids, there's no special teams, right? There's no punting, there's no kickoffs. It's just strictly offense and defense, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And that's probably good as well, because I mean, right now it's more about them learning the game, things like that. I think of last year's third grade team, and Dave Jones and John Lonely and those guys, they did a great job with these kids as they got them better from week 1 to the final game of the season, where they pulled off a nice win the last game of the year. They really had those kids by the end of the year knowing how to play football. And I thought that was the most important thing. And that's really what year 1, you want to win the games, but at the same time, you want these kids to be better football players than they were, say, the first Monday of practice.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And Dave's a great guy. I coached with him, against him, I should say, in the flag league last year. And I picked up so much from Dave. I picked his brain all the time. At the end of the day, it's like, winning is fun, but, football is fun too. And, I think a big thing here is just getting these kids, like you said, to come back next year and the year after that, keep building and keep getting better. And just learning everything a little bit, little piece at a time. And, just driving home that family mentality that, football, family, grades. That's another thing I can't stress enough to all my kids. I got all your report cards. I told them, I said, we got to collect them. We put them in a book. I want to see grades. I want to see the student athlete, student first, athlete second.
Right. And Coach, with 22 kids on the team, and you may get some more as the season starts, but right now you said 22 kids. What that tells me too is every kid on that team is probably going to play about 10 to 15 plays a game, because these kids are going to need breaks. So every kid is going to see the field a good amount of time this year.
Oh yeah. We plenty of playing opportunity. That's for sure.
Right. And I think of it as that's just going to make them better football players. And it's like you said, I think the important thing is that they pick each other up. Somebody makes a mistake, you don't want to get down on them. You just tell them, listen, forget about it. Let's, come on, we got another play to do. And that's basically what it's going to be like. Because again, they're second and third graders, and they're going to make mistakes, and the teams you're playing are going to make mistakes as well. So, I mean, again, it's a learning thing for them. And if they just come out of this season, having some knowledge of the game and learning how to, form tackle and to block and stuff like that, they're only going to get better as time goes on.
Oh yeah, 100%. I can't stress it enough. I mean, everyone wants to be the quarterback, right? And I tell them, hey, I will give you a chance. I will give everybody a chance. It's really the wins. It really don't matter. Everyone wants to win. Winning is fun, right? It's what everyone says. But at the end of the day, learning the game is more important. Giving all the kids the opportunities they deserve. If you work hard, you're gonna do well. There's no holding that back. We got a ton of athletes, a ton of slippery kids. I mean, it's crazy how fast some of these kids are. How good their hands are at such a young age. I mean, it's literally it's going to be real easy for us to say, okay, you're up at running back. Go ahead. Let's see what it's like. It's going to be very seamless. A lot of, like I said, we got a lot of size, tremendous. I mean, 4 kids over 100 pounds. It's just, ideally, they're going to be able to hold that line for us. So we're just going to feed, pound the ground and just run it up everyone's throats,
Right. And Coach, one of the other things I wanted to ask you as well is you mentioned the 22 kids, and I know you're going to start practice Monday, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But have you been able to meet each kid yet, or some of them? I mean, have you been
Yeah,
able
I mean,
to?
I pretty much met just about every single one of them. Like I said, whether it was either at Radical Fitness, whether it was at the In Sports League, from the Flag League, all the way up to the summer camp that they just ran at the high school. I'm pretty sure I've met them all. It's a lot for sure. Some newer faces, but I'd say 3/4 of the kids I pretty much know before the season had even commenced. I mean, a bunch of these kids they grew up together, so I kind of know them all.
Right. So talk to me about this upcoming week of practice. Now, the first week is obviously conditioning, correct? I mean, you're not allowed to use pads. Are you allowed to wear helmets at all, or not yet?
No pads, no helmets yet. That actually the pads and helmets get distributed this week, Tuesday and Thursdays.
Okay.
So this is really just a conditioning week, getting these boys used to sweating in that hot summer heat, drinking plenty of the old water and staying hydrated.
And now, are you allowed to, go over like their skilled positions and stuff like that? Even though there's no pads, are you allowed to take them aside, like tackles, guards, all that? Are you able to do that stuff? Or
I mean, for sure, there's going to be some skill building. You can't really just, especially at the younger age groups, right? You can't really just focus on conditioning. A lot of kids will just get bored with that. You got to mix in a little bit of fun there. So for sure, there's going to be some skill building.
Right. And let me ask you, Coach, I mean, as you saw, last week was one of the hottest weeks we've had in memory, and there could be some hot summer days ahead still. I mean, how, you as coaches, how do you make a choice? Like, because you got to be very careful. You got to make sure they're getting enough water. You got to make sure that, like, you're not overdoing it with them. So, I mean, if it's like a 98-degree day and it's very humid, I mean, do you find yourself doing a light practice, or do you still have practice, or do you go on the side of caution?
Oh no, we certainly will have a practice, but again, it would certainly be lighter. Just make sure we maintain the water. A bunch of us are trained in CPR and first aid, so we know all the signs to look for dehydration and things like that. And again, even if practice just consists of some jogging, just a walk through, some stretching, there's plenty of things to do when it's hot out. Myself, I sweat. All the coaches, we all sweat a lot, but we just got a wet towel, keep it around our necks. We got plenty of ice water. The moms on this team are phenomenal. They're already out there. Coach, I just bought this giant Gatorade water jug. I'm like, so it's like, and they want to be there too. They know, they know they're in good hands. We're not going to be, making these kids run 100-yard sprints in the dead heat of summer. But certainly we will have them out there just getting acclimated to it. That's another thing is they need to learn what it's like to be in that heat. And whether that's just doing some light stretching and just having a fun throw around, going over formations. Football is a ton of mental. There's a lot of mental capacity that these kids got to be able to take on. So just to be outside, bearing down on that heat and going over formations, going over, walking through the running plays and walking through the receiving core and saying, hey, look, these are your routes. I want you to be able to, tell me which one's which, and be, just having talks and just, again, being part of a family and saying, hey, whose pool are we going to afterwards, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they would certainly be cut probably a little shorter as well. Not going to just, like I said, I don't want to burn anyone out and have these kids out there dropping. Like, that's the last thing we want. We want to make sure our team stays healthy and happy.
Right. And Coach, another thing that I think is very important as well for these kids is them attending Shelton high school football games on Friday nights, because I think a couple of things are important about that. One is, if you see a Shelton player doing something great, whether he recovers a fumble, scores a touchdown, that really gets a young kid at that age excited. It makes them want to go out there Sunday morning and really play hard. And the other thing too is you kind of are going to get to see what the future is for you, as kids. You're going to
Right.
see that someday this is going to be me playing, stuff like that. So will you encourage those kids to attend the
Oh,
Friday night games every Friday?
absolutely. I'd like to even do it as a team, So, like you said, just imagine, being 8 years old and seeing that big high school field with the
Yeah.
lights on and the fans cheer. I mean, I wish I had an opportunity like that. Unfortunately, my high school team wasn't that good. Our soccer team was way better.
Yeah.
I actually went to Fairfield High School.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So yeah, it was more people were coming to watch the soccer games than the football games. But it's still at the same time, it's like, yeah, just seeing the light on their eyes. I mean, I took my son to a pro game, and it was like, just the way their eyes light up when they see that stuff. It's like, it's so cool. It really is. And again, that's an awesome team building experience. And it brings me back to that whole family mentality. Like, I want to do things like that with the team, like as a team. I'm not just going to pick up my son and, hey, let's go to the game. We're going to send out an email and say, hey, we're going to Friday night's game. I'd like it, for the team to be there. And like you said, that's a great learning experience as well. I mean, get them to like, oh my, they kind of crouch down. This is what it's like, holy cow. They don't understand the magnitude of the situation there. And it's so cool to be cheering it on. I brought my son to one of the fourth grade games. One of our neighbors plays on the now fifth grade team. And he was like out of his mind to just go there. And these were fourth graders, so I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for them to watch the high school kids. I'm actually very excited for that.
Right. And, that fourth grade team as well that had a great year last year, got to the playoffs. I think only lost in the playoffs, didn't even lose. So, I mean, they had a tremendous year. And they really, every coach does a great job in that AYF program. Coach, one of the things, too, that I've seen Dave Jones do, I've seen Tony Giapalo do, stuff like that, is they have all these passing leagues in the off season. They have these clinics they do and stuff like that. So is that something you as coaches are going to make sure happens in the off season where these kids are getting opportunities to compete in these type of things?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, some of these kids, their skill levels, I mean, 10x'd just from those leagues alone. Like, at such a young age, they're still learning how to control their bodies. You know what I mean? So to get them to do a spin move, you're like, and then, but the more they practice it, the more they work at it, the easier it becomes second nature. And the more you're exposed to your sport, the more successful you're going to be, quite frankly. And I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but we had a kid show up and I was like, okay, he's never played before, which is fine. Come on in. And you could tell completely lost. By week 3, he was roasting people, like literally burning people downfield. And I was like, I could tell he was dedicated. He would go home and work in his backyard, and boom, next week he's running a skinny post, and it's just like, man, this kid's dedicated, and they just, football's it's not a normal sport. It's like, it takes something special for these kids to have to dedicate themselves. Like I said, there's so much going on upstairs with it. You got to know your routes. You got to know your assignments. And, you miss it, that play's blown up, it's over. So nobody wants to be that guy on this team. They all want to know what their job is, what their role is, and they want to execute.
Right. So let me ask you, for the season, how many games are you going to play? 7 games, or how is that going to work right now?
So the schedule hasn't been released yet. I want to say it's 8 games.
8 games? Oh, good. Nice.
I think it's 8 games. We go into October. So
right. And last year when I watched the third graders, they played quite a few at home. I mean, you'll probably have quite a few home games, probably 4 at home, 4 away.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to wind up being. And for, I believe, the first time in some time, the second, third grade team, we got invited to a jamboree and being hosted by Monroe.
Oh, nice.
In August. So that'll be a nice introduction for them into actually a physical contact game. It's 10 plays offense, 10 plays defense, and, next team up, next team on. So but it'll be a great introduction before the season starts. As far as I know, they've never had a chance to do that. It's fourth grade and up does the little jamborees and stuff. And, the third graders, they typically are too young. But Monroe's hosting one. It'll be at Wolf Park.
Okay.
Yep, on August 28th.
Okay. And, Coach, before we go, what would you say to whoever might be listening to this who is considering maybe having their child sign up for football? What would you say to them? I mean, what would you tell them as a coach that you're going to give to their son if he comes out for the team?
So I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you that I encourage anyone who wants their son to play football to sign him up and play with this awesome team that we're building. I mean, these kids they're so good with each other. They help each other out. The coaching staff I have, like I said, they're great guys. We're all knowledgeable. We've all been there and played sports our whole lives. So the kids are in great hands. I mean, I texted a mother that the other day, and she said, we're not going to be able to make the little throw around. He's really upset. I said, nothing to be upset about. I said, we're happy to have him when he's there. If you can't make it, no big deal. This is preseason stuff, just kind of getting to know each other. And that kind of meant a lot to me that he was mad that he wasn't going to make it. He wanted to be there with us. And, I come from a more skill player background myself. So if there's something that these kids want to work on, I'll take the time and I'll work on it. Come to my house, come in the backyard and throw around. I just want anyone who wants to play to play. Don't shy away from it. There's always a chance that you don't like it. That's fine, but you're never going to know unless you try. And at this age, I don't think anyone really needs to worry about anyone getting shelled. They are small, they're younger. Like I do have quite a few kids that are 100 pounds plus, but that's the rare case. And even at the same time, they don't know how to form tackle yet. We're still learning that. We're still going to be getting into teaching that real soon. So if you're worried about your son being too small or too slow, don't worry about that stuff. I mean, you got to get them out there, and that's how they become better and more secure and more comfortable in their own skin, and just overall a better person. That's what we're really looking to do, is turn these young boys into fine young men one day when they're ready to go into high school.
And I think that's awesome. And Coach, I really wish you luck going into the season. It sounds like you got a great group of kids, and I'm definitely gonna attend the games. And at some point during the season, I want to have you back on, kind of talk about the team, and we could talk about some of the players that people could, hear about that are doing great things. I think.
Yeah, I can't give anything away now.
Yeah, so definitely want to have you back on, but I really want to thank you for coming on today, and good luck on Monday, and good luck with the season. I know you're going to do great.
Thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. For In the Spotlight, that was Andrew Troncone. I'm Mike Kenichi saying good night, everyone.